First things first, I wanted to make sure I could add a smaller diameter tubing to the gas transfer manifold, just so it can fit into the main body of the manifold. After that was done, I went ahead and made an adjustment to the gauge for the atmosphere gauge, switching out the 9-volt for a 9-volt adapter, which I had to do a little bit of modifying on the case by melting it so I could fit the wire through just fine. This will keep me from having issues where the battery runs out and I have to take the whole thing apart and add the battery. Now it's just plugged right into the system.
So next up is putting in this controller. So what I'm having on this controller is I'll have the pump on and off here. Then I'll have the gauges on off here, the induction heater, and then the blower for the independent hand torch. And so what I'm going to do next is take everything, place it on here as much as I can to kind of get a sense of the space and kind of solidify my placement here, and then cut it out so I can push it in. One of the things we'll notice pretty soon is that this is actually built to be at a slant, on a slanted panel for DJing for some reason. So I have to cut out a bit more to leave myself enough space to fit this through, and then I'll actually print out like a little flange to cover up the gap that will be happening from making this part wider than the actual plating.
So now I'm doing a very basic layout using the manifold part where the pump goes down to, including the acrylic on the side and the placement of the valves, so I can kind of figure out where I'm going to place the power cords and stuff at. Alright, you can see that I placed enough items on there to get a sense of the space. And then looking over here, I've adjusted that to give me a little more clearance to press the buttons and see the labeling that I'll put down. Next up is to drill and cut. Where I drilled, cut, and did some more drilling. You can see there's quite a bit of a gap on both sides. When I first made that drill in that corner, I ended up drilling into that 2x4. It's okay, all they do is measure it out, print a section, kind of cover that up, and I'll be good to go. Next step would be to add the surge protector here, placed underneath here. I can hook up the fan that does the ventilation, some of the other things that are not controlled by the switches. So, after installing the surge protector, I stripped everything down from the plasma cart. Now it was time to give it a full paint over. It will be a week before I get back to this, but when I do, I'll be cleaning the glass of the manifold, doing all the installation of the parts, and then doing a final assembly and plumbing before our first pump down after the remodel of the PGC Light Lab. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.